Hi everybody, this is Fully Up and welcome to another Minecraft tutorial. Today I'm going to show you how to build this fully automatic one chunk modular farming system. Now this farm has got 4 modules to it. So you've got the wheat farm and the beetroot farm. They're both the same, they're both built the same, so that's sort of one module. And you've got the carrot farm and you've got the potato farm. They're identical. So that's the second module. You have a sugarcane module and you have the pumpkins and melons. Now you can build as many of these modules as you like in a stack. So if you wanted to build a complete stack full of beetroot, for example, then you could do. This can be built from bedrock upwards as well. Or if you wanted loads of wheat, you can do the same, or you can mix and match. And each one of the modules can be stacked on top of the next module. So you don't have to have it in this particular order. You can build it in any order you want. So you could build a wheat, then a beetroot, then a wheat, then a potato, then a wheat, then a beetroot, then a melon, then a beetroot. I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about. So today I'm going to show you how to build the wheat and beetroot module. And for the farm itself, you're going to need an area that's 17 by 17. It's a little over a chunk. So you need it 17 wide by 17 deep. So once you've found yourself that area, if you want to build the farm at ground level, if this is your ground level, you need to dig down 4 blocks. If you want to build it from bedrock, you need to start building at about level, I'd say 10, to give you enough space above bedrock for any plumbing that you need to do at the bottom. But we'll assume for this tutorial that you're going to be building it at ground level. So you need to dig a hole that's 17 by 17 and you need to dig down 4 blocks. Boom, like that. Once you've done that, you need to find out, or you need to determine which area is going to be the front. So we'll assume this is going to be the front. I'm just going to mark it so I know. Any old block will do. And then find the centre, which is 8 blocks away from either side, from every side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 8, 8 and 8. So that's the centre. That's where all the goodies are going to fall down. Everything's going to fall down the centre there. Now what we need to do is we need to put in the unloading system that's going to fire everything off to the front to your storage area or to wherever you want it going to. And I'll do a screenshot now of everything you're going to need to build this particular module of the farm. So to build the very bottom unloading system, you're going to need to get yourself a dropper. You're going to need, we can pop that block out now, remembering that is the bottom block. Then you're going to need to put yourself down a block next to the dropper, a comparator, a repeater, and then dust linking back into the side of the comparator. That's going to form the clock. So every time something goes in there now, it's going to pulse and you're going to get a pulse. Now in order to get the dropper to fire, you need to put a block behind it and then a line of dust there. So now every time something goes into that dropper, it's going to get spat out again. Oops. Right, now you need to get yourself some compressed ice. Needs to be compressed ice because we need to light this area up, and if you just use normal ice, there's a very good chance it's going to melt. So get yourself some compressed ice and pop out a trench leading to the front of your farm and replace that with compressed ice. So anything now that gets shot out of there is going to land on the ice. We're going to put water above it and it's all going to zoom down here super quick. Then what you need to do is just fill in this line here next to the ice, forming a trench. Like that. Now you can just go ahead and throw some water into the trench. Okay, so now anything that goes into this dropper, it's going to get spat out. And that's going to get annoying, so I'll get rid of that. Also, not just anything in the dropper, but anything that falls down from the centre of the farm into the water here is also going to get shot down that way. So far so good. Now we need to build the unloading system for the first level of the farm. The first level of our farm is going to be wheat, but this will work just as well for beetroot as well. So to do that, you need to pop out that block there, grab yourself some droppers, and you need to put 2 droppers leading into the side of this hopper. Start again. You need 2 hoppers leading into the side of this dropper. 2 hoppers into the dropper. And then from the side of this hopper, you need to put yourself a comparator, then a repeater, and then next to this repeater, you need to put yourself a block. And from this side of the block that's next to the comparator, you need to put yourself down a redstone torch. Now you need to link up using dust that repeater with the side of this block. Okay, so hoppers leading into a dropper, comparator, repeater, line of dust coming all the way around here into this block with a torch on it. Now basically what that's going to do is every time there's something in that dropper, every time there's something in that hopper, it's going to power the comparator, which powers the repeater, which unpowers that torch. And that's important because that torch is going to power some rails, which they're going to be on the next level, and that's going to be the system that collects all of the stuff from all of the goodies from the farm above it. So on top of this torch now we need to put a block. We need to put a block there and a block there. Put a block there and put a block there. And this is where the minecart rails are going to go. So if you grab yourself a powered rail and crouch, you can put your powered rail there and there. So now as I say, every time a hopper minecart comes along here and it has something in it, it's going to unpower this track, which is going to stop the minecart from moving until it's completely unloaded. And once it's completely unloaded, the power is going to return to the tracks and it's going to go off on its merry way. Perfect. Now what you need to do is throw down some torches. You need to light this floor up like a Christmas tree. You don't really want spiders spawning down here. I mean, they can't do anything other than just annoy you, but you don't want them anyway. And also, you don't want the redstone flashing. Flashing redstone causes so much lag. So by lighting it up like this, you won't get flashing redstone and you won't get lighting updates, which cuts down on lag. So once you've done that, it's time to put in the floor. It's time to put in the floor where the minecart rails are going to go. So now you need to completely fill this particular section with your blocks. Bearing in mind, you can't fill in the center one. The center one has to remain open all the way up to the top. So now fill in the rest of it, all of this, with blocks, completely covering the floor. Once you've done that, you should be left with this. So you've got the centre for all the goodies, and you've got the 2 blocks popped out where the minecart unloads itself. Now, before we put the rails down on the floor, we need to put down a square of blocks there around the centre block, and then we need to put down some glowstone. So grab yourself some glowstone or sea lanterns, it doesn't matter which. We'll use glowstone. And then you need to count 4 blocks away from the center. So you've got your center block, you need to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then put a glowstone block. So 1, 2, 3, 4 glowstone block. 1, 2, 3, 4 glowstone block. 1, 2, 3, 4 glowstone block. And then go across the same line as this until you reach the line where the other glowstone is, and you want to put another glowstone block there. Then do the same here. Boom. And the same here, like that. And the same, you got it, here. So then you're left with that. Now these are very important because this is where your water's going to go. You're going to put a source block of water on top of these blocks here, and that's going to completely hydrate your farm. If you can see here, those water blocks there, you might be able to see them. There you go. So that water block there is on top of a bit of glowstone. So it adds a bit of light at the bottom, as well as the light that we're going to put in the ceiling anyway. But it adds light at the bottom, which means this stuff's going to grow overnight. So that's the purpose of this glowstone. Now we need to put down the rails. So grab yourself some powered rails. You want to grab yourself some normal rails. You want to grab yourself some redstone blocks. Now you need to use redstone blocks here to power the rails. You could try messing about with torches underneath, but it's messy. I always find it's much easier to use redstone blocks. So now you need to get yourself into this bottom right hand corner. If that's the front of your farm there. You need to go to the bottom right hand corner here. You need to put yourself down a rail, and then you need to run a line of powered rails all the way across to here, and then normal rail, powered rails all the way across, and then a normal rail, powered rails all the way across, normal rail. I'll do this and you can either follow me or I'll give you an overview when we've finished, and you can just you can just pause the video and do it at your leisure. Okay, so when you've got all the rails in, that's what it's going to look like. Now you don't need that many powered rails. If you can cut down on the powered rails, you just have got to make sure that the hopper minecart will go all the way around without stopping. So if you can't afford that many powered rails, you probably could cut them down a little bit, but you need to be careful that you've got enough powered rails to ensure that the hopper minecart gets all the way around and back again. If it doesn't and gets stuck halfway around, obviously it's going to break your farm. So now you've put the rails in, we need to put some power in. Grab yourself a redstone block, come to the front of your farm, directly in the centre, pop out these blocks here. You could probably do this while you're building, while you're putting the rails in. I just find it easier to do once I've finished. Pop in some redstone blocks and put the rails back again. So that will now power all of those rails there. Over to this one, do exactly the same. Blocks out, redstone in, powered rails back again. You might have to, depending on which way round you've orientated your farm, these rails might snap the wrong way. So if they do, you just need to pop out the rail and then pop it back in again once you've finished. Once you've done the rails, you'll know what I mean when you're doing it. On to the next one. pop them out, redstone, put the rails back, around to this end, pop them out, redstone. Okay, done it again, just the rails. Pop the rails back in again. It is fiddly, but you'll be able to do it. Just as I say, just pop them out, pop them back in again until you've got the rails sorted out again. And then this line down the middle, pop out this line here, pop out this block here, sorry. Replace it with a redstone block, which is going to power all of those rails. And then over here to this block, pop out those. Basically, you just pop out a block underneath, replace it with a redstone block, and then put the rails back on again. Over to the next one, pop it out. The only thing you've got to be wary of is making sure you don't have any redstone underneath, or you don't have it next to a hopper or the dropper. And we'll do that when we get to the middle. But if you've got it next to the hopper or the dropper, you could bud them and stop them from working. So just make sure that you don't have any redstone around it when you're lobbing down redstone blocks. Redstone, so that one is fine there. Redstone. Oh, and don't fall down as well. If you fall into a hole, you're going to struggle to get out. You're going to have to build out and then delete the block again. So if we put the redstone block there, it could bud that dropper and stop it from working. So we need to stick the redstone block there. We got them all. Yeah, somehow I've managed to mess up the circuit behind the back of there using one of these bits of redstone. Somewhere the redstone is powering. Ah, there it is. So if that's the case, if you put a redstone block above the redstone dust, it's going to power the dust and break it. So we need to find somewhere else to put the redstone dust, the redstone block. So we can stick that one there. And it manages to power all of it, which is brilliant. And then we can stick the redstone back in again. Block. Put those blocks back in again. Perfect. So once you've got all the redstone blocks in, that's how the powered rail system has to look. We can test it by sticking on a hopper minecart. So grab yourself a hopper minecart, and it's always best to do this before you start putting the floor on, because if it doesn't work now, it's certainly not going to work when you put a floor on it. And this is also a good test if you let's say if you can't afford to do loads of powered rails and you want to replace some of them with normal rails, this is the time to check it all. So as I say, you can cut down the amount of powered rails you've used quite a lot. But you've just got to make sure though that the hopper minecart makes it all the way around the tracks. And if something's on the track, it's going to pick it up and it's going to spit it out at the unloading station. Okay, now we've done that, we need to cover the entire floor, or nearly the entire floor, with dirt, with the exception of the tower in the middle, the block in the middle. Now this is going to be visible from the outside, so you're probably best off putting your block of choice on there. We're going to build our column up the middle using glass, using grey stained glass. Grab yourself the block that you want to use and then put a couple of levels on it. This is purely so you can see stuff falling down the centre of your farm. If you look in, you see everything that falls down from the farm now, we can see going down the centre. It doesn't have to be glass, it can be, you can make it out of solid blocks if you want to. But if you do make it out of glass, just bear in mind that these blocks underneath here will be visible, so make them a nice block. Now you need to cover the rest of the floor here with dirt, with the exception of the lights. You want to leave those uncovered. So basically you want to cover the entire floor apart from those. Okay, once you've put the dirt down, that's what you should be left with. You've got the entire floor covered in dirt, and then the holes where you want to throw in your buckets of water. So grab yourself some water. You'll have an infinite water source somewhere, I'm sure you will if you're in survival. Throw your water into those holes. And this water, those blocks of water are going to fully hydrate all of the farm now. So what you need to do now is grab yourself some lily pads. And you really do need lily pads. If you don't have them, then the villagers are going to be stupid. They're going to fall in the water. They're going to try and get out. They're going to jump up and down on the farmland. And they're going to break the farmland, turn it back into normal dirt. So you really do need lily pads on top of this water. Going to stop the idiots from falling into the water. Now what you need to do is grab yourself your trusty hoe and turn all of this into farmland. Perfect. Once you've done that, we need to stick the walls on the side of the farm. So you need to pick a block whichever you want to build the farm out of. I think we're going to make this farm out of glass. And then you need to build a wall 3 high around the side of your farm. If you don't want to be able to see in your farm, you can make solid blocks. You can put strategically placed glass on there if you want to for the windows. It's up to you. Your build, your rules. But you do need to build it 3 high. Once you've got your wall around, it's time to put the ceiling on, the roof on. So just build this up another level so it's the same height as your walls. And then grab your block of choice. We're going to use quartz again. and then put a complete roof over the ceiling over the top of it. Now you might be thinking that farmers are only too high, so you might be able to build it, you know, save yourself a bit of height and a few blocks by having the ceiling only 2 blocks above the dirt. In theory you probably could. However, farmers are slightly taller than you are, so they won't be able to climb on top of the lily pad there and still get underneath that block, and there's a very good chance the AI will get them stuck. So if they're here and they need to plant a crop there, they will try and pathfind direct to it and they'll get stuck, and it'll take them ages to get around it, and they'll just get stuck here. So the easiest way to stop that from happening is to have the roof 1 block higher, so that they can walk straight over the top of the lily pads. So you need to grab yourself a block, as I say, and cover the entire top with solid blocks. Okay, so now we're left with that, which is a farm and a ceiling, but we are going to need some light in there, especially if you've built this underground. So what you need to do to get some light in here, go to the very centre. You're probably going to want to replace that as well with a block, so you know it's a centre. Once you build the next level on, you need to pop that out, but for the time being we'll leave it covered. So then you need to count out 4 blocks, 1, 2, 3, 4. Pop it out, replace it with a bit of glowstone. 1, 2, 3, 4. Replace it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Replace it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Replace it, and then do the same as we did with the water below. Do that, and then do that. And then you want to count out another 3. 1, 2, 3. Put another bit of glowstone there. Glowstone there. 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 You get it, don't you? And then finally get yourself to the centre, and then count 2 blocks diagonally away from the centre. So that's 1, 2, replace that block. 1, 2, replace that block. 1, replace that block. 1, replace that block. So then you've got your lights set out in that kind of pattern, and that's going to completely light up all of your farm in there. Now we're nearly there. It's nearly time to get your farmers in there, but before we do that, we need to plant. You need to get your wheat in, or your beetroot, depending on what you want to plant in here. We'll use wheat for this farm, but as I say, this farm is identical to the beetroot farm, but we'll use wheat. So grab yourself some seeds, and then completely plant all of the farmland. You need to do this before you start putting the farmers in here, because you don't want the farmers using the seeds you're going to put in their inventory to plant to start with, because that'll deplete the amount of seeds they have in their inventory, and you run the risk of them picking wheat up, and the last thing you want them to be doing is picking wheat up. Okay, so once you've got it planted, then you need to find yourself a farmer villager. It doesn't have to be a farmer, it can be a fletcher, it can be a shepherd, but it does have to be a brown coated villager. And don't just go throwing him straight in there first, you need to get him in a little holding cell. So get yourself a little area near the farm where you can get your farmer into, because we need to fill him full of wheat seeds to start with. We can't have him going in there unless his inventory is completely full of wheat seeds. So as I say, grab yourself a farmer, stick him in here. I don't have a farmer anywhere, I'm going to have to summon one. There you go. Now what you need to do is fill him with 8 full stacks of wheat seeds. You need to throw him as many seeds as he can pick up. So just a villager's got 8 stacks in their inventory. 4, 5, 6, 8. But just keep throwing him seeds until he can't pick seeds up anymore. We'll throw in one more just to prove it. So he's now completely full up with seeds. He can't pick up any more seeds. And by the same token, he can't pick up any wheat. So let's get him in the farm. Come on. In you go. Get in. Off you go. Good job. And then we need to get ourselves another one down here. So I'll summon another guy. Really, you want... in the wheat farm, in this wheat farm, you want at least 2 farmers in there. With the beetroot, they grow almost twice as quick, so you'd be better off having 4, maybe even 5 farmers in a beetroot farm of this size. But in this particular farm, in this wheat farm, you'll get away with having 2 farmers in there. So once you've got him in your hole again, see, he is a farmer, but as I say, fletchers and shepherds do just as well. And once he's taken on as many seeds as he's going to be able to pick up, we can throw him in the farm. Go on. And he can go off and start performing his farming duties. So once the wheat started to grow, these guys will start walking around and picking up or harvesting the crops. But as I say, because their inventory is now full of seeds, they're not able to pick up any wheat. They'll also not pick up a lot of seeds as well. But they certainly won't be able to pick up any wheat, which will just sit on top of the farmland until the minecart goes underneath it. So that will happen as long as you're within 4 chunks of this farm. I think outside of 4 chunks, if you're 4 chunks that way, I think the farmers stop farming and the wheat stops growing. So you really need to be within 4 chunks of the farm, which makes the 1 chunk farm fantastic, because as long as you're AFK close by, all of the farms in this chunk are going to continue to work. And this particular module, as I've mentioned, will work just as well with beetroot as it does with wheat. So that's how you build the Wheat and Beetroot module for the 1 chunk farming system. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial. If you have, don't forget to leave it a like, and if you've really loved it, don't forget to subscribe for future tutorials. This is Frilly off, and I'm out of here.